Pooj crew, what's up? It's your boy Justin, Poojie, here to tell you about our ESPN Tournament Challenge. March Madness time is here. The brackets have been revealed. We got some big upsets brewing in the first round. I can already feel it. COVID is out there as well. Who's going to get knocked out because of COVID? Who knows? Is it going to be Virginia? Duke's already out because they're bad and they got COVID, so that's a double-edged sword. So shame on them. But the ACC's all messed up with COVID. Will it be North Carolina, Virginia, FSU, Clemson? Who's it going to be, Georgia Tech? What? Anyways, go join our ESPN Tournament Challenge group on ESPN, the Poojie Podcast. That's Poojie Podcast. Spaces between the three words, the space Poojie space podcast. Password is Poojie. Send it out to your friends. Invite your coworkers. Invite your friends. Because we all know you want to beat them anyway, so you might as well invite them and stomp them out. And if you win, you get a $50 credit for some Poojie Podcast merchandise. That could be a hat, could be a shirt, could be some stickers, maybe a cup, coffee mug. What do you want? I got what you need. Listen to this episode now, episode 75. Thanks for being here. Be on the lookout for episode 76, our March Madness preview. Going to be a fun one. Going to talk upsets, going to talk favorites, going to talk dark horses, all that good stuff. But for now, go join the Poojie Podcast group on ESPN. Password is Poojie, capital Poojie. Only the P is capital. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's the Poojie Podcast. Proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club. What is going on, Pooj crew? Thank you for being here for episode 75 of the Poojie Podcast. Quick episode for you today, but a very interesting topic and a big topic, especially this time of the year in the world of the NFL. And yes, we are here to talk Deshaun Watson, quarterback currently of the Houston Texans, as well as Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, a lot of debates going on about these quarterbacks, a lot of discussions to be had. Will they get dealt? Will it be free agency? Will it be the draft? Will it be picks? Will it be players? What situations will they be stepping into? Or will they just stand pat where they are? I have my opinions on it, but my opinions are only as good as my debate competitors' opinions as well. So I want to bring Zach in here. Zach has had some thoughts on Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson as well. But Zach, I want to start off with Deshaun Watson. The reason my opinions are the way they are is I don't want to see this sport to trend in the direction of the NBA, where players are being dealt every 1 or 2 years. They are under contract. They are under a written, signed contract. Deshaun Watson has an obligation to the Texans that he has to uphold. I mean, imagine you're an employee, you sign a contract. I mean, we take a lot of jobs, just sign an offer letter, and in every offer letter it says, it's an equal opportunity employer. You can leave and go as you please. It is what it is. But in the NFL, these players seem to be held hostage sometimes to situations, but the team is the employer and the player is the employee. So why is Deshaun Watson acting the way he is in this current situation, and what are your thoughts on it?
I will just want to say thank you for having me, Justin. As always, it's great being on the Poojie Podcast. And yeah, you know what, to start off, Deshaun, we spoke before with the whole James Harden situation and how I was a proponent of him. He signed the contract at that point, but in this instance, I feel like it's much different. The Rockets there with Harden, they really gave him everything he wanted. They paired him up with CP3, paired him up with Russell Westbrook. He just wasn't able to fulfill his end of it and win the whole thing. Then he requested the trade. Here with Watson's situation, he just recently signed into that contract. And yeah, I don't want to see the sport kind of going into that same realm of like the NBA where these players kind of are forcing their way out of their contracts. But, I just don't see that the Texans have really done enough for Deshaun Watson, and especially in the last year that they trade away his best receiver for nobody. They traded away a myriad of picks for a couple players here and there, that's really affecting them right now. So, because if they still had those picks, I don't think we're in the same situation. The fact that they don't have anything, Deshaun doesn't see this thing going in any positive way. But yeah, with Deshaun Watson, I just see that he has so much talent to bring to the table, and he knows that. Other people know that, and the Texans just aren't helping him get to where they could be and where they have almost been to in the past.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the organization not doing enough for Deshaun Watson hurts the organization even more so by this player being unhappy. And you talk about the picks, the third round or the third overall pick that they could have is in the hands of your favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. And there seems to be a very cherished offensive tackle out there in the draft with the idea that two quarterbacks are going to go 1 and 2. The offensive tackle out of Oregon, Penei Sewell, I think it is, Penei Sewell, would be a great fit for the Houston Texans. Unfortunately, they just don't have that pick. And Deshaun Watson sits there and says, well, if you didn't make all these dumb moves, I would have that offensive tackle on my team. And then also talking about moves, you look at Dwayne Brown as far as 2 or 3 years ago, he gets traded to the Seahawks, and that was the left tackle for the Texans at the time. So it almost reminds me a little bit of Blake Bortles, where the team just simply is not putting the pieces around him for him to succeed. That being said, however, I still think he has an obligation to hold up on his end with the contract. He is the quarterback of the team. He is not the general manager of the team. He's not the president of the team. He doesn't make these decisions. If he did, he would have different titles. He'd have quarterback and coach or quarterback and GM. But we're seeing that all over the league where these players want to be cued in on different types of decisions, which I agree. They're the highest asset of the team for the most part, in most cases. And a lot of people talked last season about Patrick Mahomes talking to the Kansas City Chiefs during the draft and them drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And that Patrick Mahomes was extremely excited about that. That is an isolated situation. I feel like that is Kansas City's decision to do that, to keep him happy. And that is the right decision in my opinion. But when it comes down to it, how much of a decision maker does Deshaun Watson have the ability to be as a quarterback of the team?
Okay, so I definitely think, I feel like there's definitely more situations in the NFL. I mean, you see Tom Brady brought over Gronk out of retirement. He got the Bucks to bring in Antonio Brown. I don't know if he had any say in Leonard Fournette, but I think there's multiple quarterbacks that have that say. And the thing about it, though, I know he doesn't have that president title, that GM title, the owner title. But one thing about Deshaun Watson is that he's getting paid a lot of money. And in most companies, he would be a partner. And partners have say in what the company and what they're doing with their company. So I like to look at somebody that makes as much as Deshaun Watson as a partner of the Houston Texans. And they even promised him in the beginning of their coaching and GM search that he would be a part of it. And they hired 2 guys that I'm not trying to put them down. I don't really know much about them, but I know that Deshaun Watson wasn't happy about not being involved in it. You
know what? You can put them down all you want. They're not going to see this podcast, but those guys are nobodies. And coming from a Jaguar fan, it makes me even happier that the Texans are in this situation, as I'm sure it would you if the Bills were in this situation. And I don't like to see Deshaun Watson in this situation per se, because I want him to succeed as a player. I don't really wish ill upon any given player, but ideally I'm happy the Texans maybe aren't going to be a competitor against the Jaguars over the next few years. But you hit the nail on the head. The only person in that building making more than Deshaun Watson is the owner of the team. So at the end of the day, the owner of the team doesn't have a say in it, the owner of the team does have a say in it, but he's not the football operations guy. If Deshaun Watson is a soldier on the field, he theoretically should maybe have more of a voice in it, because he's the one that sees it on the ground level, and he just simply hasn't been happy with a lot that's going on.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Deshaun Watson is going to make the decisions. He should just, with the amount of money they've made, they're giving him, and he is the future of that team. or was the future. I don't know about anymore. He should be in those rooms having discussions with them, just like Patrick Mahomes was, just like Tom Brady. And I know he's not at the level of those guys. I mean, Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. Patrick Mahomes looks like he could reach that level. Deshaun Watson, we still are left to see. But, I mean, if you paired him up with what Patrick Mahomes has, I mean, the guy might end up being one of the greatest of all time. Like, he has the skill level. You've seen it. You're paying him. I feel like he should definitely have a higher say in what goes on in the office. And from reports, this is just what people have been reporting, they told him he would be a part of it. And they kind of went back on that when they just hired him, and Deshaun Watson had nothing to say about it, no input at all. And, you know, at the end of the day, we see them as like employees, but when you're getting paid that much money, like you just said, like he is the second in line to the owner. I'm sure he's making more than the general manager. Like he's got to have a say at some point. He is a partner in that for the Houston Texans and should have a say.
And you know how much of this is he signs this extension that goes through 2025. He sees these pieces being moved. He sees these decisions being made. How much of this is, okay, he comes off the high, he gets home, he looks in the mirror and says, oh shit, I just locked myself into this organization until 2025. And now he's like, wait, is this like buyer's remorse almost? Because let me just put this out there. He signed this extension after DeAndre Hopkins had been traded. And a lot of people think that this is a result of DeAndre Hopkins being moved. And maybe it is indirectly on the back end. He realizes how important DeAndre Hopkins was to his success. But at the time of this extension, DeAndre Hopkins was not a Houston Texan. So you see him go, you see him move on. The team has committed this money to Deshaun Watson, some of which I was sure that was going to be sent to DeAndre Hopkins. But now it's almost like a little bit of buyer's remorse to where he feels, okay, I've seen my friends move on. I've seen my guys go on to bigger and better things. Why am I stuck in this situation?
Yeah, and I could definitely see that. I kind of the only thing I have about it is that, I mean, we don't know yet. Right now, we don't know what he is planning on doing. What he says is that he's not going to play a game for the Texans. So it's still all up in the air. But if he doesn't play games, like, I mean, he has guaranteed money on that contract, but he's going to be losing a lot of money in that contract. It's not, again, to go back to it, it's not a James Harden situation where James Harden went on the court and, yeah, he was producing numbers, but you could just see that he wasn't, like, all there probably with the teammates and everything. Deshaun Watson's out there right now this past season playing the best season he's ever had with really nobody on offense. I mean, with a defense that was absolutely atrocious. I mean, his offense wasn't, like, terrible. He had solid receivers, but no, like, wide receiver one or anything. But, yeah, he you know, it's just tough. If he doesn't play, he's not going to be making that money. So I don't really think it's a money situation or anything like that. I really think them not letting him have any input on who the general manager and coach would be was like the final straw. And that was one of the number one things that he was like not happy with. He just signed this contract for, I think it was, like you said, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. 4 years, $156 million,
yeah,
110 guaranteed with $27 million as a signing bonus.
Okay, that's a lot of money. 110 guaranteed.
Hell, I could do anything for that money. I don't like, but I guess they're competitors, right? So they want to win, and they don't want to be like embarrassed on TV and go 1-15 like some teams in the NFL. CC Jacksonville Jaguars, but yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a level of pride to it as well. And you look around the league and you've seen successful teams. He's seen his teammates go on and be successful elsewhere. So I'm sure it's a tough thing to stomach. And I mean, hey, let's be real. Some guys want to be a part of the rebuild. Some guys just want to be out there and produce at a high level. Not saying he doesn't want to be a part of the rebuild, but after going into your 5th season in the NFL as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, you're not expecting yourself to be a part of a rebuild. I think that's the biggest thing is you're one of the best quarterbacks in the league. The team at this point should have done enough for you to have one of the best teams in the league. I mean, I'd have to look at the numbers. How many times has one of the best quarterbacks played on one of the worst teams? Like this is an anomaly if I've ever seen one. I mean, it's absurd what's happened here. But a guy that just got a contract, Dak Prescott, turned down 3 contracts from the Dallas Cowboys, plays on the franchise tag, gets injured, and finally gets his way. So I guess I say all that to say, has Dak Prescott finally set the example for players moving forward as we have all the leverage? There's 32 teams in the NFL. Someone is going to pay you what you want because you're one of the best players. You're never going to be at home on Sunday in the fall watching the games on your couch. You are going to be playing somewhere, and it's going to be on your terms.
I mean, yeah, and I will say to that, I think I wouldn't say the players have the leverage. I would say the quarterbacks have the leverage. I mean, we've seen it all throughout the past few years. I mean, your very own Jalen Ramsey did it, and you know what? As much as that might have stung for you guys got first-round picks for him. That, you know, and it's the same way with me. I mean, the Dolphins traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, somebody that is a stud right now in the league, but if he doesn't want to play for us, he's not going to win us a Super Bowl. We got to build a team of guys. In the football, you got to build a team of guys that want to play together, that can commingle together, that are aimed for that certain goal. But the quarterback is definitely the prized possession because, I mean, there's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the league, and I would say 10 of them right now I would want on my team. Like, yeah, there's less than 33% of them I would want on my team. It's the market for quarterbacks is so difficult to find, and we always see all these quarterbacks come out, and that's why so many teams might move up in the draft to draft these guys. But you never know if they're going to pan out. It's such a difficult thing, especially with that college to pro level that for these quarterbacks. And it's just one of those things. You got to find these guys, and when you find them, you can't let them go, and you gotta do whatever you can for that person because they're so beneficial to your team, and they're the ones that are going to lead you to the championship. So
yeah, I mean, it's crazy you say that. 10 quarterbacks that you'd want on your team. This world has like 3 billion people in it. The fact that we can only find 10 capable human beings of playing quarterback in the NFL is a little bit astounding to me. But you know, one of the cliches I hate the most is when GMs or coaches say, we want players that want to be here, right? Because those coaches have the spotlight, they have the microphone, they can say that and not get any backlash. Well, how about this? As a player, we want coaches that want us here to be successful. Like, we want to be here to play and be successful. We don't want to be here just as your cash cow to draw in the fans and sell the jerseys and sell the concessions and all that stuff. Like, you want us to be here to win? Well, how about you set us up to win, right? Because the Texans, outside of 1 or 2 years with Deshaun Watson, have not really been set up successfully to win. And you talk about draft picks and you talk about drafting quarterbacks and people at the top not being good. Let's transition into a third-round pick, one of the most notorious third-round picks. The Jaguars drafted a punter, 1 pick ahead of this guy, Russell Wilson, with the Seattle Seahawks. Early February comes out and says he is dissatisfied with the direction of the team. And a casual football fan would say, what are you talking about? You're the best team in the NFC West. You're a top 3 team in the NFC. You've won a Super Bowl. You've been to 2 Super Bowls. What are you dissatisfied with, right? And I think that comes back down to the quarterback being the soldier on the field that knows more than a lot of people know. And he is in a situation now in Seattle. He has the city by the balls. He has everything he wants in Seattle, apparently except for an offensive line, and he wants out. He wants out of Seattle. So is this going to be the offseason where we see Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson, 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks, and I did not stutter, 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL being moved? We've never seen this before.
I mean, the thing with Russell Wilson is I don't necessarily know if he wants to be moved, but you know, if he is moved, he has that the no trade clause in his contract, just like Deshaun Watson actually. And he said he is willing to waive it for a few teams. I think right now, well, with Dak being signed to the Cowboys, I think it's the Bears, Raiders, and the Saints. Teams with I mean, the Raiders are a little confusing there. I don't know if it's just because it's the city. I mean, they have their defense is okay, I guess, but I know the Bears and the Saints have a great defense, which is something he's missing right now in Seattle. They don't really have a great defense. Their offensive line hasn't been playing well. I know the Bears' offensive line isn't that great. I mean, if somehow they could get this man over to New Orleans, like, oh my God, that is going to be a team to watch for in the NFC. I think that would put the Saints at number one in the NFC. I know the Bucks just won it all, but I would have to put the Saints as the number one team in the NFC if they make that trade. I mean, Russell Wilson, like you said, top 5 quarterback. That's very debatable. We can get into that another time.
Oh, we will. We'll get into that.
Yeah, I think he's borderline number 5. We could I got to hear a few more names being thrown out, but I mean that Saints team is built to win right now, and they're just missing a quarterback. Drew Brees wasn't the Drew Brees that we know and love. So
yeah,
Russell Wilson going over there would be amazing. Even him to the Bears, he would have a number 1 with Allen Robinson. He'd have a great defense. They would just have to probably work on their O-line and stuff, but I don't see him being moved anytime soon. I feel like Seattle is his city. I just think, you know what, he had to say something and make it public to let Seattle know, like, listen, you guys got to do something because I'm out here weeks 1 through 6 running around, getting hit, knocked down every single week. I am an Iron Man. I'd never take a snap away. And you guys aren't providing me with like a team that could win on both sides of the ball. Football's a 3 teams game in reality with special teams as well. So they just, I mean, his first year was like, oh, they had the great defense, but their offense was so not that great. Like they had Marshawn, but the receivers weren't anything special. Now it's like Chris Carson's a solid back. You've got Tyler Lockett and DJ Metcalf there, who are great receivers, but now the defense isn't that good. Like you got old Bobby Wagner, Shaquille Griffin, who we love. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily a number 1 cornerback.
Hey, you mentioned Shaquille Griffin. They actually opted not to pick up his option, and he is now a free agent. So unless they can come to an agreement before Tuesday, which mild plug here for the podcast, be looking out for our free agency primer coming up next week before our free agency begins in the NFL. Be on the lookout for that because you brought up Allen Robinson as well. He was another guy Jacksonville was looking at, which they shouldn't have even been looking at because he was a Jaguar in the first place, but that's for another day. But you look at the Seahawks, DK Metcalf, like you mentioned, Tyler Lockett, David Moore. He has an embarrassment of riches there. I think they have like 3 running backs that they use, kind of whoever's injured doesn't play, but they have like 3 running backs that they use. He has everything but an offensive line. And I think the funny misconception of quarterbacks is, oh, he's an outside the pocket quarterback. Well, the only reason he's outside the pocket is because he doesn't have a pocket. He has to run. We're talking about Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson right now. These guys have been known to move, be mobile, whatever. All right, if I was a quarterback, I wouldn't want to be known as that guy. I want to be known as the guy that can stand in the pocket and throw the ball. That's great. The more I'm moving, the more likely I'm going to get hit. And we saw what happened to Deshaun Watson with that. So these teams like to hype up this mobility quarterback. Oh, he's got great legs. He can get outside the pocket, extend plays. Well, how about this? Put the pieces in place to where he doesn't have to extend plays. Let's try that for a change. They're like, oh, well, Russell Wilson's not that tall. He can't see over the offensive line. He wouldn't be a 6-year NFL veteran if he was too short to play. He wouldn't be a Super Bowl champion if he was too short to play. Put the pieces in front of him. Let him go out there and be victorious. You brought up the Raiders, Bears, and the Saints. The Raiders, I think, is interesting because you look at John Gruden. He's been known notoriously over the last 10, 15 years as like a quarterback whisperer. He did the quarterback camps with ESPN. I don't know if that has any tie to it with John Gruden. As you said, the city. They have Henry Ruggs now, who's a young up-and-coming receiver. They have Josh Jacobs, who's a young running back. So maybe at that point he's just looking at the personnel and kind of like a young personnel that he wants to be a part of. He can be a veteran leader there. The Bears, obviously, with Allen Robinson, they really don't have anyone behind him except for Mooney. So he'd be really kind of putting himself in a worse situation. But they do have David Montgomery. They do have a few other pieces on offense there. And then the Saints, like you said, the Saints are like the Indianapolis Colts of the NFC. They are built to win now. And the Colts defense is what the Saints offense is right now, where it's just like this is too good of a situation to mess it up and not go win a Super Bowl. And the Colts are also in the market for a quarterback right now. And are we looking at a situation where the Saints and the Colts are both going to miss their Super Bowl windows because Drew Brees retires and Phillip Rivers retires?
Well, I mean, I would say, dude, to start off, the Saints defense is like the Colts defense. I mean, the Saints defense is so good too. They're a top defense in the NFC. Their offense, I feel like, is what helped. Their quarterback really is what held them back. But I mean, they got the pieces everywhere. They're just missing that quarterback. But I mean, just to say, the Colts did just trade for Carson Wentz, so we'll see how that plays out. Maybe Frank Reich could get him back to his old ways, because I mean, he was an MVP contender that one year until I think he tore his ACL. So we see how he leads them there, because all they need, I mean, Phillip Rivers had a really good year last year, like kind of quietly had a pretty solid year. They just need a game manager.
Yeah.
They found their number one running back with Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack, I don't know if he's a free agent or coming back or what's the deal with that, but they have solid receivers there. They're, like you said, their defense is great. Offensive line has been amazing this whole time. So they just need kind of like somebody that's just not going to turn the ball over. So it's kind of funny they bring in the guy that's turned the ball over the most this past season, but we'll see. Maybe he's back with his old coach and he could change things up around there. But
I said that back on episode 72. I said, sometimes in this day and age of social media and sports media, for a lot of players, sometimes all it does take is a change in environment, needing to get out of a toxic environment, a toxic relationship, if you will, with the team. And maybe that's what he's done. He's gone back to Frank Reich, like you mentioned. They did lose Anthony Costanzo, which I know is a big blow for them. He's been their left tackle, I think, for over 8 years now. So I have seen Trent Williams tied to the Indianapolis Colts slightly. I haven't seen that kind of locked in or anything. I think he ultimately wants to stay as a 49er. But it'll be interesting to see what the Colts do, and if they can kind of get over the Titans hump, because right now it looks like the Colts and the Titans are running away with this division. Last question for you. Actually, last two questions for you. Watson, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, $10. First one of those three to win the Super Bowl. Who's it going to be? The next Super Bowl. Who's going to win a Super Bowl first out of those three? Got $10.
All right. Well, here's my thing. I would say I'm going to give you my reasons why. All right. Russell Wilson, great quarterback. I don't see him moving from Seattle, and I don't think Seattle is anywhere close to winning this. I mean, they're close, but they just have I just don't see the time frame.
Yeah, they'll be a wild card team pretty much for the next 5 years.
Yeah, so they've got too much issues, especially within their division. Then you go to Dak, great quarterback again. The Cowboys, I don't think they're close. I mean, unless they hit on some defensive picks this year, they got to work on that. Their offense is, on paper, looks freaking amazing. But
I feel like that's always the story for the Cowboys. I don't know
what it is, but their defense is just, and on defense, sometimes, they got good linebackers, like solid dudes on the line, but their cornerbacks and stuff are not that great. So but then Deshaun Watson, you got him in Houston, and they're nowhere near a Super Bowl. But will he be traded? And will he be traded to the Dolphins? But then the Dolphins aren't. It would be absurd for me to think that the Dolphins will win a Super Bowl anytime soon, because I haven't seen it. But you know what? I'm just gonna go on a whim here and go on a limb and say Deshaun Watson, because he's gonna be traded to the Miami Dolphins
and win the Super Bowl.
And he's gonna play with a team that has a defense. We're going to. I guess we won't draft a quarterback or a running back, or a receiver.
No, honestly, you say that though about Watson and the Dolphins. They drafted Tua, who, in his first year, rookie struggles. It is what it is. Like, I don't think the team is worse off if Tua is the quarterback in the second year of his contract, but the team's a lot better if Deshaun Watson is. So but I feel like the Dolphins, and we talked about this last season, they were the most underrated team the whole season. Like, they overperformed drastically, but was that an overperformance, or was that what the team is and a sign for things to come? Like, I genuinely think when you look at what the Dolphins are, you put Deshaun Watson in there, that's like saying, all right, let's put Lamar Jackson with the Chiefs, right? Like, okay, let's actually put those people with a team that is capable of, moving the ball on offense, stopping on defense, making things work. I don't think you're far off. I mean, you hit Wilson and Dak right on the head. I don't think the Seahawks defense is good enough at this point. And the Cowboys, I don't trust really anything. I feel like they just get name bias all the time. So
yeah, and to say, I mean, I wouldn't even. My two would be between Watson and Wilson.
Which is embarrassing considering Prescott just got this contract.
Yeah, but the only thing is that I don't think Watson and Wilson will win it with their teams.
Ooh.
I think Wilson would have to be traded to one of these three. I mean, I could even see it with the Bears because all it's going to take is one free agent wide receiver signing.
Yeah,
with Allen Robinson. Because Trey Burton, I think that's their starting tight end, is a solid tight end. David Montgomery's a solid running back. So the Bears have pieces there that they're not far away from if they get Wilson. He's getting old. He's getting older, but he still plays every game. So
yeah,
I mean,
I'm a little hesitant because the Saints are in such cap trouble, especially with the decrease in the cap. I don't see them making that move because then they would probably have to release someone like Michael Thomas to even make it work financially. But the Bears, you go out and sign, let's say Kenny Golladay, right? Someone that's on the market, or Kenny Stills, like another decent wide receiver.
Emmanuel Sanders just got dropped by the Saints.
Emmanuel Sanders, yeah. So you go out and sign one of those guys. You put Russell Wilson in there. That's not maybe DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but you're at least looking at a pretty formidable 1 and 2 receiver. And then, like you said, you have David Montgomery. Yeah, I mean, Wilson on the Bears, the more we talk about it, the more I actually kind of like it. One, because it's not in the AFC, and two, because I think that would kind of be a fun storyline. In them franchise tagging Allen Robinson. In my opinion, you're not going to franchise tag that type of receiver if you don't have a plan to get a quarterback to get him the ball.
And now that I think about it, I mean, dang, there's so many. That's such a tough question you gave me, Justin, but. Russell Wilson too. Man, I'm kind of leaning more toward Russell Wilson because the Chiefs just dropped 2 of their offensive linemen. They just released 2 of them. I mean, the market for the offensive linemen this year is so open that maybe the Seahawks actually finally go for even one guy, go for 2, maybe hit on 1, bring them in. The thing, I don't know how many people really want to play in Seattle. I mean, as much as the fans are great, that weather is probably so terrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know I wouldn't, but then again, if you paid me a lot of money, I would move anywhere. I'd go play in Kansas City, but I'd play in Buffalo. Shit. But
I play in Houston.
Yeah, for real. Like, I mean, we just saw Mark Ingram do it. He probably wasn't getting anywhere, and he just signed over there. So, yeah, I mean.
All right, last question I have for you. Another bet for you. You got Watson, you got Wilson. Pick if they stay on the team or if they move and what team they'll end up on. And that's the final question for you. Will they stay on the team? Will they move to another team? And what team will that be?
Are you talking about starting this season?
Yep, this season.
Wilson on the Seahawks.
Okay, Wilson stays.
Okay. Watson. It's either going to be the Texans and he doesn't play. Watson to the Dolphins.
All right, and you know what? I'll give you a little bit of leniency for you. We'll say Watson to the Dolphins at some point this given season. Maybe not opening day, but I also think that it would be to the Texans' benefit if they do it before the draft to get that third pick back.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think the trade will happen if it happens after the draft.
Yeah, because here's the deal. The Dolphins aren't going to draft a quarterback at number 3, but if the Texans trade Deshaun Watson to the Dolphins and get the third pick, the Texans will draft a quarterback at 3.
No.
You don't think the Texans would draft a quarterback at 3?
No, because I think we would send Tua.
Oh, yeah.
We would send the 3-18 Tua, probably our second round, the second round pick we got from them. I mean, God, I hope that would be it. But
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot.
And then from there, they'd probably take Panay to help out with that offensive line and Tua.
So it does seem like both teams would kind of benefit from that. So
yeah, and I mean, there's so many receivers on the free agency market that the Dolphins could go for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we would probably strike out on getting a running back, but I think Deshaun Watson, I think will make up for that. He's a great player. So
yeah, sometimes the best running back is a good quarterback, being able to take some pressure off the backfield. And we'll see if that works out for the Dolphins. We'll see what happens with Watson. We'll see what happens with Wilson. I do think Wilson's going to stay in Seattle, but we have an exciting week of free agency coming up, especially with the salary cap being decreased down to $182 million per team. It has actually steadily increased by about 10% over the last decade, and this is the first time it has decreased in quite some time. And a lot of times these players or these teams actually forecast their contracts for an increase in salary cap. And now let's see what's going to happen. Zach, jump in. What you got?
Yeah, just want to say one quick thing. Just for all the fans out there, another reason why the Dolphins should really look into trading Tua for Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is on that contract already, which is fairly cheap in what's the market is going to be. Tua's probably going to – Deshaun might hit the market again before Tua, but if Tua pans out to like a great quarterback, he's going to be expensive too. So Deshaun Watson at least will be older.
Yeah.
You can have that when it comes to negotiations. Hey, man, we can't pay you what Joe Burrow, Tua, and all these guys are asking for because they're 3 years younger than you. So that's another thing for us to consider. That I think they're about to sign a new TV deal after this year, so the salary cap's going to jump right back up. It dropped just because of COVID,
and
no fans and stuff, but it's going to go skyrocket, and the quarterbacks are going to be getting paid big money.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, hopefully at that point, Watson wouldn't hold out for another extension or to make more money, but you're spot on, because if they get him right now, in 3 years from now, he's going to be a below average paid quarterback based on the other quarterbacks that are in the league that still need to get paid or extend it. So yeah, from a standpoint of 3 years outlook, Tua's probably going to be, if he does pan out, being paid more than what Deshaun is being paid right now, simply because of how valuable the position is. But stay tuned to the Poojie podcast, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you may listen. Stay tuned for our free agency primer, especially if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar fan. We may even have to get Zach back on here to talk some Miami Dolphins free agency, maybe get a few Buccaneer fans on here to talk some Tampa Bay Bucks, all the Florida sports. It'll be a great episode next week to look out for. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I know just in general, free agency is going to be a lot of fun all around the league. I can't wait. There's a lot of big names on the market, a lot of moves to be made. But go follow us on Instagram. Go follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Be on the lookout for the Poojie Parlay 4-packs that are released every now and then for picks, with conference championships going on right now for NCAA basketball. March Madness coming up. Go sign up for the tournament challenge on ESPN. The Poojie Podcast group password is Poojie. Go sign up for the bracket challenge. I'll be releasing more information on that on the Instagram this coming week. But go enjoy some golf this weekend, TPC weekend here in North Florida. A lot of big names in it. If you missed our episode 74 of the podcast, it was our TPC preview. Be sure to go take a look at that, as well as that was a great episode with a lot of good insight on PGA Tour golf. Zach, thank you for being here. I appreciate it always, you joining the podcast. And until next time, take care and go make this world a better place. Thanks.
How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man?